through this. If you can go to, let's go through these. So you guys remember, we talked about decoding is reading people's signals, and then encoding is giving off a signal, right? So you want to make sure that you give the right signals, but you also want to make sure that you are reading other people's signals, right? So this comes from a book called Master the Secret Language of Charismatic Communication, Small Signals, Incredible Impact, okay? So I'm not going to repeat the same ones. I have some new slides here. So Thomas, if you, should I use this? Great. Okay. Lean like a leader, we talked about that. Leaning in makes you more motivated. Leaning back is a sign of not concentrating. You don't want to be open body, open mind. So when you think about your posture, which we'll talk more about today, you don't want to be like closed up. You want to be open. Front forward, when you're talking to people, you want to make sure that your torso, head, toes are aligned completely with theirs. It shows that you're paying attention. Be smart with space, right? You don't want to be in people's personal zones. So we talked about the intimacy zone, which is very close, and then personal zone, and then social zone, and then public zone, right? Understanding that. The head tilt when you're talking to people, right? If you have a head tilt, it makes you seem more charismatic, I guess. Head nod, right? When you head nod, it's kind of cueing people to continue talking or that you're paying attention. But if you do a quick head nod, that means hurry your ass up, right? Eyebrow raise is signals that we want to see more. It's a positive social cue when we are seeking confirmation, when we're actively listening, the eyebrow raise. Smiles. Our brain likes smiling people. It makes us more memorable, and nobody likes a fake smile, right? Because when your eyes are not, when you don't have the crow's feet, and people, that's a fake smile. People don't like that, okay? What's next? Touch of trust, right? So that's why in this business we high five, we hug people, but sometimes if you're having a conversation, you're like, right? Just a small tap that creates a lot of trust. Mirroring, so copying the person that you're talking to. I think that's in two ways. It's your tone, your voice, your energy level. You can't be super high energy if someone is really low, right? You have to match, you have to mirror. Sometimes they say like even mirroring people's gestures, like the stuff they do, you can do it. You don't want to get weird about it, but they say psychologically it does create more of a connection, right? This is just, I'm just repeating stuff. So looking confident, powerful. All right, so let's go through this. These are the new ones. Runner's feet, sitting with one foot behind the other makes you look impatient and nervous. Okay, so if you are sitting down, have both feet in front of you. Don't have one foot behind. That's what they call runner's feet. So if you're sitting, you have one toe up and then one toe back, right? This is what the book says. It makes you look impatient and nervous. You know what this book is training people? It's like people that do TED Talks, people that are on panels, people that are on TV, but you may be in this business in front of a lot of people. We do a lot of group presentations. Ismaldo, you did a presentation for someone at their job, at their company, right? You had an audience of a few people. And remember this, is that they don't have to know, they don't have had to read this book to think what this is saying. It's almost subconsciously built into the way that we think. Does that make sense? Like later on in the book, it talks about positive gestures, and it's like, if you do this, it creates anticipation. Now, I didn't have to teach you that for you to know that when I do this, you know something good is coming, right? It's sort of built in. White knuckling, so balling hands in a fist or holding on to something tightly. So, you have a pen or you have this and you're sitting down and you're talking to someone or you're in an appointment and you're squeezing really hard. It shows that you are just anxious and tense, so you just want to relax a little bit. And this is one I'm going to spend a lot of time on, is self-soothing. Physically telling our body everything will be okay. Wringing our hands, rubbing the back of the neck, running hand, and I'll get to this, you don't have to write it down, there's another slide. Run hands along legs and arms. Distracting and looks nervous, okay? So we'll go through more of that. In terms of posture, okay, it's a single most important cue for signaling confidence to other people is your posture. That's why with my young guys, I'm like, get off the wall. Don't lean on the wall. Okay? Make sure that you come across as someone that's confident. They're saying powerful in a way. Anxiety causes us to tense our shoulders and protect our neck and turtle our head down. Pull your head up, shoulders down. Your feet, are they pressed tightly together? Are they wider than your hips? Place your feet 3 inches wider than you normally would. Whether you're standing or sitting, you will feel instantly more grounded. What's next? Your hands, relax them. Have your arms a little away from your torso. The more powerful you feel, the more space you take up, and the more powerful you feel. It's repetitive, right? But so sometimes, like, you're sitting down and you're kind of like this, and you're trying to take up less space. What they say is that if you spread your feet out and you spread your arms out, it gives you the impression that you're more confident. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to try to take up as little space as possible, and I know that I've done that, and maybe do that. You want to take up more space, right? So have your arms out, have your legs out. When we feel powerless and anxious, we take up less space, so we're less noticeable. That's sometimes what we're doing. So if it's in a group, and you don't want to be noticed, and you try to take up less space. You don't want to do that in certain situations. Expansive posture will make you feel more confident. It also talks about, before I get to that, it says that when you are speaking in front of a room, I guess this is why everyone does it. This is called a steeple. So it shows that you're open, you're honest. That's why they say showing your palms is a sign of like openness. That's why sometimes when people try to shake your hand, I learned all this from the book, they go like this. Have you ever met someone, they go like, instead of just going like this? I think it's a little weird, but it signals like, I'm honest, I'm open, I have nothing to hide, right? Mm-hmm. So they say that when you go like this, it's sort of the same thing. And it also, then you're not doing anything, you don't have like nervous gestures with your hands when you can do this. All right, let's go to the eyes. What do the eyes tell us? The flexed lid is a cue. The flexed lid cue is a signal of intensity, judgment, and scrutiny, right? So when you flex your lid, you kind of squint a little bit. And it's saying as humans, we do that because it blocks out light so we can see more. But when we do it when we're speaking to someone or when someone is speaking to us, it means that immediately we're scrutinizing, maybe we're concentrating more. And you want to make sure that you read that with the client. A sudden eye flex means someone has gone from just listening to scrutinizing. Pause and ask if they have a question. So you're going through something and then they go, and you're like, then you can say, hey, is there something on here that you have a question about? Do you need me to repeat something? Does that make sense to you? So when you learn how to decode, then that's a situation where if you're going through, and this is also important because when you're going through a presentation, sometimes I notice that people are like a tape recorder. It's like you hit play and then they do the entire interview without asking questions, interjecting at all, seeing if things make sense, seeing if the person's following along, and you just talk for 45 minutes without a break. If you were going to do that, just show them a video, right? You have to be watching if people are listening or paying attention. I personally hate talking to people when they're not paying attention. I'll just stop, right? So if you're reading something on your phone, if you're texting, if you're doing, and I do it to people too, right? But when people do it to me, it's like, why am I talking? You're not listening, you know? And these are the signals that you want to look out for. All right, gestures. Okay, so let's go to this one. Leaders with positive hand gestures came across as more positive. Purposeful, confident gestures improve comprehension by 60 to 400%. All right? Numbers. So sometimes it's like, hey, number 1, that's a gesture. Number 2, number 3. Big or small. It's common sense, right? But I guess people, they write about this stuff. Me versus you. All right, here's the thing. I'm going to give you guys 3 great ideas. They're saying that helps. What this is designed to do is just get people to pay attention to you.
Right.
As human beings, we're so distracted, we're not paying attention. The gestures help people pay attention. Rubbing palms together, I just talked about that. That's a gesture that shows that you are about to say something important. So before you say something important, you do that. Try to keep your hands within the strike zone. Okay? So no flailing. Have you ever seen anyone do this? When they're talking? Keep it within the strike zone. It should stay between your head and your waist. Nicely stop someone from interrupting you. This is funny. They call it the fish. So, actually, this is different. Open your, yeah. So, if someone is like talking, and they're not stopping, which there's a lot of people like that, they say, open your mouth like a fish, and it signals to them that you're about to say something. So if Chandel's like going on and on, I just go. Right? So, and then she's like, oh, are you going to say something? It works though, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just talking and they forget, and then if you just open your mouth, then it shows that, you know, you have something to say. So you can use that on people, and of course, if people are doing it to you, that means you're over talking. The bookmark, hold your hands up in 4 fingers. So if someone's like talking, you can just go like this. That's like a polite way, like, let me interject here. So this is what they do. The anchor touch, and sometimes it requires this. Like you're just going on and on and on. I'm like, dude, I'm still here. There's another person here, right? You're just talking. The preview technique, right? So let's say that you know someone is a talker that you are engaging with, and you say, look, let me just give you 3 points right now. And what that does is it allows you to get the 3 points out before they interrupt you. Whereas if you didn't do that and you just start talking, they'll probably interrupt you halfway through the first point. So I thought that was good. All right. So let's talk about some negative cues. Distancing. When we don't like something, we have the urge to physically distance ourselves from it. Okay? Always be on the lookout for sudden distancing behaviors like stepping back. So you're talking to someone and then it's just like, that's not a good thing. If you do it, you're showing a lack of interest. If someone does it to you, they're showing a lack of interest. Leaning back in a chair. So we're just sitting on either side, and all of a sudden you just, they're thinking something. Turning head or body away. Everything that I'm thinking about when it comes to this stuff is not like me talking to my wife, right? That's not it. It's when I'm in a negotiation with someone. Now there are, of course, things in your personal relationships as well, but you're going through something and someone's just like,
Yeah.
turn their head away, turn their body away. Scooting back. You ever seen someone do that? They just literally jump their seat back. They're sitting down and they just scoot back. Turning away to check your phone, that's obvious. Angling backwards. Right? The problem is that physical distancing can trigger emotional distancing as well. So emotionally, you're detaching from the situation. They're doing it to you, you're doing it to them. The most charismatic people are stable, present, and engaged. Distancing is the opposite of those positive cues. They did a study with physical therapists. They said the physical therapists who nodded, smiled, and leaned in had better client outcomes. They say when you're speaking in front of the room, if you're like rocking back and forth, it makes you look unsure. And this is another thing, okay? I struggle with this when I'm up here, but you guys also. Never talk in your presentation while your back is to the audience. Usually what I do is like, I'll write it and then I'll turn back around to you because I've learned these things. When you're talking to the audience, face the audience when you're talking. Don't talk when your back is, right? So if you're writing and you're just talking to the board, right? All right, so this is the one I want to spend a little bit of time on and then I'll end, okay? Self-comfort. Self-comfort. They were talking about one time, they analyzed a bunch of interviews, they talked about Britney Spears. They said she proceeded to pull both hands up to her forehead and pull her hair out of her face. So like, right? This is a ventilating gesture. Ventilation is an attempt to draw airflow to the skin to prevent nervous sweat. People ventilate by lifting their hair, pulling their collar, guys do it too, pulling their collar away from their neck, or fanning themselves. 1 second later, Britney Spears begins to rhythmically rub the side of her calf with her hand. This is a comfort gesture. Research finds that we self-touch more when we are talking about anxiety-producing topics. Right? Think of parents with small children. Moms rub a baby's back and dads pat heads to calm kids down. So basically we do that to ourselves. Comfort gestures like biting nails and sucking on pens are called pacification gestures because, like a pacifier, they can be used to soothe anxiety. I do all of this stuff, right? But you have to be cognizant of it. We can also comfort ourselves by preening. This is when we use self-touch to make ourselves look better. Right? We touch up our hair, we fix our makeup, or fidget with our clothes. That's a preening cue. So, rubbing arms and wringing hands. Rubbing the back of the neck. You ever seen anyone do this?
Yep.
Stroking thighs or calves, and this is when you're sitting down, right? Cracking knuckles, I do that, but you don't want to do the wrong time. Biting nails or pens. Sucking on cheek, biting lips. I have a lot of anxiety, I do all this stuff, just letting you know. Like, all of it. Especially when, like, if at Fast Hard Tools, if I'm on stage, that's not my favorite thing, to be when attention is on me, right? And so these are things that I know that I do for a fact, right? But you got to get better at it. Is there anything else here?
No, it's not.
Self-touch gestures negatively impact your charisma on 2 levels. First, comfort gestures make you look anxious. Study after study finds that comfort gestures, fidgets, and extraneous movements make you look less charismatic. Powerful people don't waste energy on purposeless movements. They gesture to explain. They lean in to emphasize. They're still unless they have a reason to move. Self-touch or comfort movements are distracting to others because our eyes are drawn to motion. So you're getting them to focus on the wrong things. You're trying to show your slides, or you're trying to get them to focus on something, right? But you're touching yourself. Self-soothing gestures also make your audience nervous. Your nervous gestures inspire nervousness. When we're anxious, we pace to give our legs something to do. We fidget because we don't know what to do with our hands and need a way to work out the anxiousness. In order to fix that, hold a pencil or pen. Use a clicker, right? When you go to a networking meeting, you can hold a water or a coffee. All right, I thought that was good. All right, so we'll go through a few more of these. So who wants to go first?